The Buffalo Bills secured a quality narrative-busting win over the Steelers, and I'm giving you my initial reaction to it today on Locked On Bills.
You are Locked On Bills, your daily Buffalo Bills podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Bills Mafia? It's Joe Marino, author of the Herd Mentality Substack, co-host of the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast, co-host of the NFL First Read Podcast, and I'm your host of Locked On Bills. Locked On Bills is a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. I want to thank you for making Locked On Bills your first listen every day, and a big welcome and shout out to our everydayers. You know who you are. Those of you who never miss a single episode, I appreciate y'all being here very, very much. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Happy Victory Monday to you. The Buffalo Bills defeated the Pittsburgh Steelers 26-7 and improved to 8-4 on the season. That was a quality win for the Buffalo Bills. They overcame a couple of bad giveaways in the first half. The rushing offense was dominant. The defense played lights out, and they embraced the style of game necessary to win under the circumstances and pulled away with it in the second half. I love that this was, in some ways, a narrative-busting win. The Bills win on the road, and that's been tough for them. They've lost their last 2 on the road and 3 of the last 4. The run defense, we knew that would be tested. They answered the call in a big way. We knew the defense and their ability to be good tacklers would be tested in a big way. They answered the call. We knew that Joe Brady would have a lot to figure out while missing both starting offensive tackles. No Dalton Kincaid, no Josh Palmer. Boy, he figured it out and had some huge short yardage play calls. It was an outstanding win for the Bills, a dominant win. It might not feel that way, but the Bills won by 3 scores. They had 16 more first downs. They had 206 more total yards, and they more than doubled them on time of possession. The Bills possessing the ball 42 minutes to the Steelers 18. It was a quality win on the road and one the Bills had to have, and they met the moment. So we'll do what we do here on our post-game reactions. I want to get into the things that I really liked, the things I didn't like. We'll talk about what's next for the Bills and this podcast. But we're going to keep talking about this offense here in segment 1, especially the rushing offense. A historic day for the Bills rushing offense. 51 carries for 249 yards. It's the most rushing yards ever by an opponent in Pittsburgh. This is an important game for running the football. Both starting tackles down. No Deion Dawkins, no Spencer Brown, no Dalton Kincaid, no Josh Palmer. It's Brandon Cook's first game as a member of the Bills. He's practiced like 3 times. Keon Coleman's back in the lineup after missing the last few weeks. It's cold. It's windy. The Steelers knew the Bills were going to have to run the football. You're concerned about the ability to protect Josh Allen. And the Bills ran the rock. Extremely successful. 249 rushing yards. James Cook, he cooked. 32 carries, 144 yards. He also led the team in receiving. 3 catches for 33 yards. James Cook, 35 touches for 177 yards. He was the horse. Needed to be, right? We talked about this in our last conversation before the game. I talked about how this had to be a let James Cook game, and it happened. And boy, he delivered. But so did the other running backs. And that's one of my favorite things about this win is how all of the running backs contributed heavily to the victory. Of course, James Cook speaks for itself, but Ray Davis, hello, welcome. Good to see you. How you been? 9 rushes, 62 yards. It feels like since the kick return piece started to get going for Ray Davis, His role in the offense has went up, and his effectiveness when touching the football has just gone up. It's great to see. It felt like this was going to be a lost sophomore season for Ray Davis. He's coming on here down the stretch. And while Ty Johnson might not have the most prolific game, 5 touches for 25 yards, how many of those were huge third down conversions? At least 3. Physical, making the play, in situations where you're not sure if he can do it. And he did, time and time again. Shout out Alec Anderson, stepping in at right tackle. Hadn't played right tackle in a game since UCLA, since college. He was repped in preseason at right tackle a little bit his first couple of years, but not as much the last 2. And he goes out there and handles it. And the Bills didn't have much in terms of choices. It's either Chase Lunt, who, look, with all due respect, probably not ready to function in an NFL game, or Tylen Grable, who's just practiced for the first time in months this week. You lose both tackles. Ryan Vandemark goes over to left tackle, handles it. Alec Anderson at right tackle handles it. And you have a historic day running the football. Like, not just a good day. The most yards ever by an opponent in Pittsburgh. Shout out Tyrell Shavers as well. The Bills had a bread and butter play in this game. You heard a lot of frustrations out of the Steelers locker room about how they couldn't stop the one play. The Bills kept running it over and over again. And a big part of the reason why is Tyrell Shavers. Tyrell Shavers was that play side blocker, kept on crashing it down, allowed James Cook to spill. Had a lot of production. Very, very effective. Overall, I'm just really satisfied with the offense. And I especially love how they finished the game. Some shaky things early on. We'll talk about that. But they wind up scoring on their last 4 drives, the Bills offense. Their last 4 drives, they score. And we're talking big scoring drives. 16 plays, 60 yards. 8 plays, 56 yards. That's the shortest one, but that's the one you scored a touchdown on. 15 plays, 83 yards. 14 plays, 72 yards. You had 3 scoring drives of north of 14 plays. 372 yards, 26 first downs, 10 of 17 on possession downs. The Bills held possession of the ball for 42 of 60 minutes. Yeah, there's some frustrating things early on, but come on now. Josh Allen gets a rushing touchdown and a passing touchdown in this game, extending his own extending his own record for most games with a passing and rushing touchdown. But he also became the NFL's all-time leader in rushing touchdowns by a quarterback, topping Cam Newton. Unbelievable, right? It's happening right before our eyes. We're seeing it. Josh Allen, historically great, breaking NFL records, significant NFL records. He is building, or perhaps has built, the resume as the NFL's greatest dual-threat quarterback. He's been unreal. The most ever, Josh Allen. The most ever rushing touchdowns by a quarterback in the history of the league, Josh Allen. And good to see Keon Coleman make a touchdown catch. Josh was able to kind of make something out of nothing, finds Keon open for a touchdown. And that's significant, right? He's not played the last 2 games. And Josh is able to find him for a touchdown. That's helping the team. That's good. All in all, not a huge day throwing the football. And Josh Allen goes 15 of 23, 123 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. But the most important thing, he wasn't sacked. And he was hit once. It was the exact offensive game the Buffalo Bills needed. And they came through. They met the moment in a big, big way. Speaking of meeting the moment, the Buffalo Bills defense absolutely met the moment. And so we'll rave about that here on the other side of it. So folks, be sure to stick with me. The World Cup is coming back to North America for the first time since 1994. And with 48 teams for the first time ever, it's going to be massive. But let's be honest, getting tickets is usually the hardest part. That's why the Game Time app is clutch, finally giving fans a real advantage when it comes to snagging seats. With Game Time, you can track price drops in real time, get alerts when great seats open, and buy tickets in the moment they hit the app. It puts the power back in your hands and makes going to the World Cup realistic instead of impossible. The seat view feature is a game changer. You literally see what the pitch looks like from your exact seat before you buy, and the prices include fees up front, which I love. There's no last-second surprises at checkout, and you can get alerts for teams and matches that make it easy to grab tickets the moment they drop instead of missing out. So take the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets and every match, concert, or event with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, download the app, make an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Get Game Time. All right, folks, welcome back. Had a lot of great things to say about the Bills' offense, especially how they finished the game. The defense was phenomenal for the entire game. And really, this defense in some ways is pretty hot when you consider the last two quarters against Houston and how this game went. They're playing really well. And we knew what type of game was coming. We knew. This was a game that was about running the ball and stopping the run. Well, the Bills' run defense has been clowned for most of the year, but not in this one. They limit the Pittsburgh Steelers to 58 rushing yards on 18 carries. That's 3.2 yards per carry. That's like more than 2 yards less than the Bills' season average. They met the moment. They needed it. The Bills' defense tackled extremely well. We talked about Pittsburgh in the lead up to the game last week when we're getting ready. We talked about how this was the team that had the highest percentage of their passing yards coming after the catch. They're fourth in missed tackles forced per run. The Bills tackled extremely well. So not characteristic stuff of this defense, right? Tackling and run defense, not really a strength. It was against Pittsburgh. It was when they really needed it to be against Pittsburgh. And let's just be honest, this defense is different when Shaq Thompson's out there. It's different. He's a good player. Smart, instinctive, physical, downhill, tackles, can play the pass. He's a good player. You can just feel it. It's a better unit when Shaq Thompson's on the field. I mean, really, the last 6 quarters have been Shaq Thompson as your Mike linebacker. The 2 second-half takeaways were huge. I mean, changed the game. Completely changed the game. You come out, and the Steelers get the ball first in the second half. The first play is a Joey Bosa strip sack. It turns into a Christian Benford scoop and score. Let's go. There's the lead, and they never gave it back. That's tying the team record for forced fumbles in a season for Joey Bosa with 5. Christian Benford with a scoop and score, and then in the next possession, Christian Benford intercepts Mason Rudolph on an overthrow. So Christian Benford gets 2 takeaways in a span of 5 plays. It's a game-changing sequence and was huge in overcoming the 2 mistakes that the offense made in terms of giving away the football in the first half. The Bills went into the third quarter. They went into the second half -2 in turnovers. Changed in an instant, right? Evened it up. And when it evened it up, that's when you saw the normalization of the game happen, right? Like maybe you're surprised to hear all of the stats that I gave you in the first segment about just how lopsided this game was because you're so dialed into the beginning and the Bills offense is not really moving the ball and they have 2 bad giveaways. But when it normalized and the Bills got their 2 takeaways, you know, you kind of see that, yeah, this was a game that Buffalo was really in control of. Trey White with 2 huge pass breakups. One was on an early third down. He's able to swat away the football, and then they sent him on a delayed blitz, and he breaks up a pass as well. Jordan Phillips and Greg Rousseau combining for a huge 4th down stop. Jordan Phillips kind of blows it up. Greg Rousseau cleans it up. TJ Sanders with a big pass breakup in this game. But more than anything, I just think they just tackled well. They just tackled well. They didn't get blown off the ball. right? That you've had issues all year with defensive tackles getting displaced and not being able to come downhill and tackle behind it. That was not the case in this game. That's what it came down to. I mean, look, football's the most simple, complex game you can ever watch, but ultimately it comes down to blocking and tackling. The Bills blocked and tackled better than the Steelers blocked and tackled. The Steelers offense had 10 drives in this game, 10 possessions. The Bills forced them into 4 punts, 2 takeaways, a turnover on downs, 2 end of halves, and then the touchdown. And the reason the Steelers get a touchdown, short field, they take possession of the ball at the plus 39 after the James Cook fumble. They get an unreal drive starter and Kenneth Gainwell picking up that ball, right? I feel like it's going to hit the ground. It comes with like a centimeter away from the ground. Gets like 17 yards and puts them in a position where they're in the red zone, and they score a touchdown on a 3rd and goal. Other than that, the Bills defense was absolutely lights out. Was everything perfect? No, it's never always going to be perfect. You hate that on that one drive, it starts off with Aaron Rodgers not being able to handle the snap, and it's 2nd and 26, and they get out of it. Like, you hate that. But the normalization of the game told the story, and the Bills defense met the moment. I know that the Steelers offense is not a juggernaut, but they're also not the worst offense in the league. They're at least an average offense. Scoring like 25 points per game. The Bills really limited them to well below their season averages. So phenomenal effort, in my opinion, for this Bills defense, and they got a lot of momentum here. Like I said, the last 6 quarters have been terrific. Shaq Thompson settling in at middle linebacker has really helped. And they're getting stops. Like, that's what it comes down to. They're just getting stops. All right, we got more to do here. I want to talk about things I didn't like. We got some stuff there. We'll talk about how the Bills came out of this game from an injury perspective, and we'll talk about my predictions and then what's next for the Bills and this podcast. So, folks, we'll do that all here next. Folks, be sure to stick with me. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. The holiday season is one of the best times for sports, bowl games, big basketball matchups, playoff pushes. It's all happening at once. And while we're all making choices every day, one of the most fun places to make the right call is Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the easiest way to get in on daily fantasy. You just pick more or less on at least 2-player projections, lock in your lineup, and you're in the game. It's simple, it's fast, and it's available in 45 states, including California, Texas, Florida, and Georgia. Prize Picks simply adds an extra layer of excitement to the holiday sports schedule. You can create a lineup in less than a minute. The app makes everything smooth and intuitive. And there's so many different stats that you could choose from. They can give you a fantasy score, field goals attempted, free throws made, turnovers, whatever fits your strategy. And I love the early payout feature. That's a great bonus. When your lineup starts strong, you may get the option to cash out early. And the deposits and the withdrawals are quick and easy. It just keeps everything flowing. So check it out, folks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. All right, folks, welcome back. Let's get into some things I didn't like from this game, and then we'll do a recap on my predictions and set the stage for what's next. But there's obviously some things I didn't love about this game. We'll start with the false starts early on. The Bills had some issues with that. Alec Anderson, Osiris Torrance, and there was definitely an undisciplined, sloppy feel to the start of this game for the Bills offense, which I guess in some respects is to be expected with the reserve players you're playing on the offensive line. And let's face it, the Bills have been very fortunate with offensive line health. They haven't been in this spot very often, and so you're mindful of that. But obviously, it put the offense in some spots where they weren't able to capitalize. The Bills were moving the ball well early, but they couldn't capitalize because they shot themselves in the foot with some penalties and also some giveaways. Right? They started off this game with an interception, then they go punt, fumble. And then, of course, they score on their last 4 drives. The Bills only had 8 possessions in this game. But 2 punts and 2 giveaways in the first 4 drives, not a great start. And both of the giveaways are very frustrating, especially because you kind of felt like this was in some ways going to be a defensive struggle, and you're giving away the football. You weren't winning the turnip, or you weren't winning the field position battle early on, and it created some challenges. And the Bills didn't have a great first half. They go into halftime down 7-3, and the two giveaways. You start off this game with the ball first, and Josh Allen throws the interception. He's targeting Gabe Davis. To me, it was pretty obvious his eyes needed to start to the left. There were some better options to the left, and Josh even said it in his postgame. So I know that everybody wants to be mad at Gabe Davis for maybe not having the greatest effort on that play, and I agree. I think there's some criticism there, but I think the right way to look at it is what the quarterback told you. His eyes needed to start to the left. And, yeah, I thought it was pretty obvious watching it. Josh confirmed it in his postgame. Start your eyes to the left. I think you're going to like what you see. That picture looks a lot better. The other, James Cook with an unforced fumble. Unforced. An unforced fumble. And then just an awful job trying to recover it. It's the only time the Steelers scored was off of that. So in that type of game, those are costly. And, of course, things evened up in the third quarter, but that put you in a bit of a hole and didn't allow you to control the game script early on. Early in the game, I thought the script was going exactly how Pittsburgh wanted it. Things opened up there, obviously, with Joey Bosa with the game-changing play and Christian Benford doing his part as well. Maybe Christian Benford has a chance to be the AFC Defensive Player of the Week. He's really played a lot better lately. There's no doubt about it. And he said after the game that he shadowed DK Metcalf for the game. And I think he had, 3 catches for 32 yards on 5 targets. He's done a nice job. He really has. And run support as well. Tackle for loss. So he has a tackle for loss against the run, a scoop and score, and an interception. Heck of a job by Christian Benford. Needed this, right? Needed that impact to come. And I would say for the Bills have played 12 games, maybe the first 8 or 9 were pretty rough, but the last 3 have told a different story. I didn't like Josh Allen sliding and getting hit and there not being a call. Kind of goofy to me. How does that not happen? It's very obvious. Like, what's the point in sliding if that's not a call? You should not slide. If that's not called, then never slide. You're just putting yourself in a vulnerable position. Like, that's legitimately horrible officiating. He slid. He has protections. Like, you can't hit him. What are we doing? How is that not called? How is that not called? But in the middle of the referee announcing a face mask against the Bills defense, the sky judge can intervene and say, no, here's your help. You don't need to call that penalty. Does anybody understand the sky judge when they can get replay assistant? Does anybody even understand this? Between that and the virtual measurements, I don't really understand it. The virtual measurements have been horrible. They're not any faster, and they're not even interesting. I enjoyed watching the chain game come out and extend the change and the suspense of that. Now you get this automated video that brings no enthusiasm, and it's ultimately not faster. It's not faster. Explain to me how that's not a personal foul on and that hit on Josh Allen. I didn't like what A.J. Epinesa did, swatting that ball away. That's just an undisciplined moment. You can't do that. You cannot do that. It's a bad penalty to take. Silly, senseless, not necessary. I didn't like Sean McDermott's decision to enforce the personal foul on the kickoff. Go ahead and make that a 48-yard extra point, because ultimately, when you enforce it on the kickoff, nothing changes except for the kicker goes backwards. All the other players are in their exact same spot. The landing spot's still the same. The kicker can get it down there. It's pointless. You got to make that a 48-yard extra point, right? If the only thing that's going to happen is the kicker's going to go back 15 yards, well, who cares? Changed nothing about the play. Now, good job to McDermott to accept it, the next one, and put it forward and then kick the ball out of bounds because it's 25 yards from the kickoff. Like, okay, so that's a great correction and wind up not costing you, but I don't understand the thought process behind, oh, well, it would be better to move the kicker back 15 yards on the kickoff than 15 yards on the extra point. I think that was mismanaged, but I thought McDermott overall did a nice job, especially with some of the fourth down decisions. I think he had the right default aggressive mindset in this game. From a health perspective, I think the Bills got out of this thing pretty clean. Just Joey Bosa with a hamstring injury later in the game. He was questionable to return. We'll see how that goes. As it goes for my predictions, I went 3 for 5 this week. My first prediction was that the Bills would turn the ball over one or fewer times. He turned it over twice in like the first quarter and a half. I'm like, okay, what are we doing here? Now, obviously, I think both instances were pretty uncommon. A short throw to Gabe Davis and an unforced fumble by James Cook. I think the Bills had the right mindset in protecting the ball. I think they got a couple of times, but I missed that. I said Brandon Cooks would play and catch 2 passes. No, he only had 1. And 1 catch for 13 yards. I think it was Josh Allen's first throw of the game. And I'm like, oh, here we go. He routed him up. Little comeback route, complete for 13 yards. And that was the only target he got. So I didn't get that. I got the next 3, though. I said 20 or more carries for James Cook. He got 33. That's got to be the most he's had this year. He's only gone over 20 carries 3 times in the 11 games prior. So now 4 times in 12 games, he went over 20 carries, 33 in this one. So we got that right. I said the Bills would get a sack from someone not named Daquan Jones for the first time since the Kansas City game on November 2nd. Yes, Joey Bosa took care of that to open the third quarter, and I predicted that the Bills would win, and that happened. So I go 3 for 5. So the Bills are 8-4. They sit as the number 7 seed in the AFC, and if they would have lost this game, they would have been on the outside looking in. They would not have been in the playoffs, all right? They'd be in the hunt. So they took care of that, and the Colts and the Chargers are your 5 and 6 seeds at 8-4. And then you've got Houston is 7-5 behind the Bills. But they beat the Colts. My prediction is that the Texans are going to win the South. We'll see if that happens, obviously, but I am predicting that. You know, you can get into all these scenarios, which team's going to beat which team and all that, but ultimately just root for the Bills to win. You know what I mean? Like if they're 8-4, so they've played 12 of 17 games. I think if the Bills go 3-2 over their last 5, that'll be good enough. 11 wins will get you in. 10, I can't promise you that. I think there's a 10-win team in the AFC that's not getting in. They go 3-2 over these last 5, which I think is manageable. I think you're good. So ultimately, we can get into who to root for. Root for the Bills. Root for the Bills. If they win their games, that'll be fine. But also root for the Giants on Monday Night Football. The Giants and the Patriots play on Monday night, and the Patriots are heavy favorites. So they should be, but the Giants can pull that one off. It'd be pretty significant for the Bills and their slim chances of winning the division. They would still need an outright better record than New England, or they're going to need New England to lose to either the Jets or the Patriots, because the Bills do have 2 divisional losses compared to the Patriots, who they have. Did they lose in the division? Did the Patriots lose in the division? They lost to the Raiders. Who is the other Patriots lost to? I'm looking this up on the fly. I don't normally do this. Pittsburgh. So they don't have any divisional losses. So if the Bills are going to have a tiebreaker scenario with New England, the Patriots got to pick up some divisional losses, and then you got to go down the line in tiebreakers. It's a slim chance, but ultimately the Bills' chances of winning the division would be improved by the Giants winning on Monday Night Football. So go Giants. And ultimately, look, I know that this isn't the best Bills team that we've seen, right? I know that. And I have plenty of concerns. But are you watching the league? What team in the AFC is the juggernaut? Is it the Broncos? Is it the Patriots? We just saw it. Everybody wanted to anoint the Rams, right? We're all looking for an elite team in the NFL this year. Everybody in the world, including myself this past week, said, you know what? The Rams showed us. They told us after they beat the Buccaneers by 1,000,000 points that they're the best team in the NFL. Everything's going well for the Rams. Well, they just lost to the freaking Panthers. Who knows what's going to happen? And while the Bills are a flawed team, I don't think there is a team out there that isn't flawed. Just keep playing. Try to win as many games as you can and see where this thing goes. Next up for the Bills is a home game against the Cincinnati Bengals. And with Joe Burrow back, boy, that's a very interesting football game that we'll obviously spend a lot of time getting ready for this week. But next for this podcast is the All-22 review. So I'm going to spend all day Monday studying this tape, and then we'll get you a podcast, sometime later in the day on Monday once I'm done, reflecting on what the tape reveals from this quality win for the Buffalo Bills. 26-7 winners over the Pittsburgh Steelers. I hope you enjoy your Victory Monday. It's an important one. The Bills needed this one in a big way, and they get it done. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us here today on the podcast. Thanks for being here. As always, I kindly ask that you share, subscribe, rate, and review. Have a great rest of your day. Go Bills, and I look forward to catching up with you again real soon.